Hello and welcome to the Ally Invest Daily Service Show. Today on our show, our theme is features available within your Ally account. We have Matt Weston with us, who is a product owner for Ally Invest. But first, we have a question from the comment section of last week's show. And this one I'm going to actually address to get started here. Sambit says, can you guide me on how to get the P&L calculator to work? It always takes me to a blank screen. Now, quite simply, if you are using the P&L calculator, which is located inside the Ally Invest option chains, you want to make sure you have the most up-to-date browser and that you are in the Ally Invest live trading platform. If those two things are taken care of, you should not have any issues viewing the profit and loss calculator. And now I'm going to pass it over to Matt so he can show you the navigation to get to the profit and loss calculator. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I was just going to quickly show, once you're in the platform, where to go to get to that calculator that Brian's talking about. So at this point, what we see on my screen is I've already logged into my Ally account, and I've gone ahead and clicked on my brokerage account, which has taken me to my dashboard page here. So from this page, probably the easiest way to go and view the calculator is if you come up under research and open that menu, and then if you select options, this will take you to a page where you see a bunch of information that we've talked about on the show a few times, which is some information about a particular stock, which I just have one loaded here in this test account. And it gives information about the option chains and a lot of other data that you have within the option chains. But if you continue to scroll down, you can see you have our workbench here where I've, again, just randomly picked one option contract that I saw. In this case, it's a forward call option. And the action in this case that I put with it is a buy. So you get some information here about what the current quote is and some of the different Greeks available on our platform. But if you look a little bit lower, you can see where it says profit and loss graph. And if you click on this, this is actually going to open up that graph. And you can see and chart out whatever strategy that you'd like using the option chains above. So whatever you're clicking on within the option chains and interacting, we're going to go ahead and load into this tool automatically those different contracts so you can build out whatever strategy you like and then view what that looks like on the calculator. And again, I'd reiterate, if you get to this point and you are seeing a blank screen of any kind, you can always try refreshing, but I would also make sure again and stress that you're using an up-to-date browser. That's really important. We do see some issues from customers occasionally, and a lot of times it's a result of using an outdated browser. So make sure that you've gone ahead and made any updates and that you're using a current, widely known browser such as Chrome, Firefox, Safari, otherwise.
All right. Okay. With that said, Matt. Now, Matt will be highlighting some of the features available within the Ally Invest account, specifically in the settings area of your account. With that mentioned, though, our viewers are the ultimate drivers of the content of this show. If you have any general questions about the platform, please start by putting them in the chat box right now on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, I have to point out for privacy concerns that we can only answer general questions about the platform, and please do not put in any account information or contact information in the chat box for all to see. The goal of our show is to help out as much as we can inside this open platform without compromising the security or safety of your accounts. So with that said, I'm going to pass it back to Matt, and he's going to start to show you some of the account features that are within your Ally Invest account. Back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Brian, again. And yes, we want to spend a little bit of time today talking through what are some other features that we offer with an Ally Invest account. In this case, we're talking through some of those features that are available for your self-directed account, which are different things that you can do and set up that our customers have asked for that are commonplace in our industry. So we want to spend a few minutes and demo, one, where to find those on the platform, and two, what are those different features that you can set up. And what we're talking about here is really things that are outside of what we've been talking about on the show previously, which is really about getting your account opened and funded and different kinds of accounts that can be opened. But outside of that, we wanted to point out there's a lot of different things that you can do and programs that you can enroll in that may or may not be suited for you. So again, ultimately, you being a self-directed investor, it's really your decisions what features are appropriate for your account. But we do make them available when you're making those decisions within our platform. So what you see on the screen here is, again, this is after I've logged into my account and come through the snapshot page, and I am now on my dashboard for my invest accounts. From here, you can click on this little gear right here, which is not the easiest thing to see, and it's not the easiest place to find where to go for these settings. So I think most importantly, I'd stress you have to be able to find this gear next to the Word dashboard where I have my mouse right now and click on that. And you can see this opens a menu where you get a few choices, but then can choose from this menu all settings. So we're going to go to all settings. So what this is going to do is take us to our settings page. And by scrolling down towards the bottom of this page, all the way at the very bottom, which is part of the reason we want to point this out, it is not the easiest place in navigation to find these features, but they are really great features for your brokerage account that we make available that customers often ask about. So from the bottom of the page here, you can see some different things. And depending upon what your account is already set up for, this view might look slightly different. In the case of this test account, this is currently a margin account. It has option trading on it, which you can see here if you're an option trader. If you do trade on margin, this is where you'd go to apply for these things. And there would be action buttons here in the case where you were not approved yet for margin and wanted to go ahead and apply for it. Or the same for option trading, you go over here and you'd be able to click to enroll, similar to these buttons you see for these other programs below. Down below here is, I think, where we wanted to spend a little bit more time and focus and talk about some of these different features or programs, if you will, around your Invest account. And want to spend a few minutes and talk through each of these as to what they are, what you're signing up for, and what that ultimately means in your brokerage account. So the first one is dividend reinvestment. So let me scroll down just a little bit more. So if you look here, and I'll highlight it here, we offer dividend reinvestment for our accounts. This is a program where if you have already purchased a security and you're holding a stock in your account and it pays out a dividend, you can choose to have those dividends automatically reinvested back into that security. It's a strategy that a lot of investors will use in order to continue to build their position based upon any dividend payouts that come in. So when that company pays a dividend of $10, we'll allow you down to a fractional amount of a share, reinvest those dividends back into that stock.
All right. And Matt, I have a quick question about dividend reinvestment just in general. And I want to emphasize you are the driver of content of this show. So if you have any questions in general about your account, please put them in the chat box. But when it comes to dividend reinvestment, let's say we've had some shares in our account for a long time that pay a decent dividend. What are the tax implications inside a regular taxable account in general when you get a dividend that is reinvested to buy more fractional shares of stock?
Yeah, that's often a question we do get, Brian, from customers, is understanding what are those implications. And I will say, regardless if you have already enrolled in dividend reinvestment or if you have not, you need to understand there can be differences in how those dividends are treated. So regardless of whichever, they are taxed the same in the sense that whether you signed up for reinvestment or haven't, there is still the same type of tax consequence. So you can either be taxed for your dividend as an ordinary or a qualified dividend. So there's two different ways in which you can be taxed. One is taxed as ordinary income. The other is qualified, which is a reduced rate that dividend is taxed at. Again, this happens a lot of the time when you've purchased a security. If you've held it for a long enough period of time, you can go ahead and that becomes qualified and you get a better preferential tax treatment on that dividend. But regardless if you've enrolled in reinvestment or not, those rules still apply and you still have that tax consequence of having to pay for that dividend. But whether or not it's qualified, you do want to check the ultimate sources, publication 550 or your tax advisor, or you can look online for your situation to know exactly how that dividend is going to be taxed. And it does look like we have a question, so I'll go back over to Brian.
All right. So if we're going to keep moving along with the thought here, we will be on the FDIC insured sweep program. And within the sweep, how is interest a little different in the FDIC sweep program as opposed to just keeping it in the normal money market within Ally?
Yeah, so there's also an FDIC sweep program. So what you can do with this program is really you can go ahead and choose to enroll through this button here and enroll in this program. And an FDIC insured sweep program, your cash is treated a little bit differently, but it does allow you that added insurance of FDIC protection versus what normally protects a brokerage account, which is called SIPC or as we like to say, SIPC coverage. So the differences in these programs really comes down to how is your money protected? And with the FDIC Insured Sweep program, we partner with a number of banks through our clearing firm to keep your cash safe. And you can enroll in that program and then invoke FDIC coverage on any cash balances in your account in order to provide that type of coverage versus just the general SIPC coverage for your brokerage account. And again, you do that by clicking enroll on this middle button here.
All right. And then Matt, I guess we're going to move on into the Securities Income Program. And I'm going to actually highlight that in the chat box. We have a website that you can go to learn a little bit more about that. A lot of people at different brokerage firms will refer this as the fully paid lending securities program, which we just kind of thought it was a little bit long. So we came up with SIP, which is short for Securities Income Program. And Matt's going to tell you a little bit about that, and I'll add some information into the chat box.
Yep, thanks, Brian. And going back, I think with this program, one of the things that we wanted to do is be as transparent as possible for customers. So what we've gone ahead and done was, instead of this immediately enrolling you in the program, like some of these other features that can be more straightforward and that customers understand, we've actually created a page dedicated to allowing you to learn more before you enroll. So what would happen is if you are interested in this type of program, which again is a different way in which you can generate revenue within your brokerage account by loaning out certain securities that you're holding in your brokerage account, you can click on this Learn More button that you see here. And by clicking on that button, we actually have a lot of information available to talk how this program works. So I won't play the entire video here, but if you prefer to watch a video on things, we do a very good, quick explanation of exactly what this program is and how it works. But again, it's an opportunity for customers of ours to come. You can enroll in this program and then choose. And if you're eligible upon meeting the criteria that we set forth, we go ahead and we'll enroll your account in it once you've consented to wanting to be a part of this program. So what we're essentially doing here is we'll look to see if there's any securities in your account that can be loaned out. Those securities, if they are loaned out from your account, you will earn interest on those, which gets paid out to your account on a monthly basis based upon any period of time that those securities are loaned out. So again, this is a different way to generate some revenue in your account if you're holding securities in there that happen to be fully paid for in your account. So that's where you see that industry lingo that Brian mentioned, where they're talking through things being fully paid. We call it our Securities Income Program, but as Brian said, everyone uses slightly different language for these kinds of things, but this is our flavor of that particular program. So we give you a lot of information here, and I will say this is definitely something you want to make sure feels suitable to you as an investor and is appropriate for your account. There's a lot of information here, and again, with any pros, you want to weigh out what the cons are as well. We often say that enrollment doesn't guarantee we'll borrow your shares, so you're not always going to be paid interest. If no one's looking to borrow those shares and there's no one looking to short the stock elsewhere, then the shares don't need to be borrowed, in which case you don't earn any income on those. Another consideration for the program is you need to understand that you're going to receive, if the securities are loaned, you're going to receive something called a substitute payment, which will take me a few minutes to explain. But in the interim, it looks like we have another question. So I'll go back over to Brian.
Well, I just was going to actually cover short sales. And I do want to emphasize, please put your questions in the chat box. And if you're watching this video after the fact, you can also put some questions in the comment box and we'll try to answer them on next week's show. But with that said, when you're thinking about short selling, sometimes it's important to just define what a short sale is. And that's where SIP comes from, is the fact that people within brokerage firms can actually sell a stock short. So if I'm selling a stock short, that means I'm selling the shares without owning them. And in order to do that, I have to borrow them from someone else within a brokerage firm. Now, if you think about this, there are a plethora of different shares, and only a limited number of those shares can actually be borrowed out. And if that does happen, there's potential to earn some income inside your account if the shares that you are using actually get loaned out. Now, there's no risk that if you loan out those shares that you can't sell your own shares. You can sell them at any point in time, but over the life of the account or those positions, if you do have stocks that do get shorted and you give that ability to short it, that's where you can earn some of that income. So if I am shorting a stock, here's how I would go about it. I would actually, you'll see, and this was a question from a couple of shows ago, we were actually asked when we were looking at how to enter an order inside our mobile platform on what it means to sell to open a position inside your account. Well, if I'm doing that, I'm actually selling to open a short position. I'm selling the shares without owning them. And then after that position is on, if I want to get out of that position, I got to do the opposite, right? I have to buy. Well, I'm not just buying the shares outright. I'm actually buying to close that position. So I'm selling to open a new position. I'm buying to close a short position. And my ultimate goal of doing that is I want to sell high first and then buy low later. So you're doing the opposite steps of the quote unquote normal investor that's going out and is trying to just buy shares outright and obviously is bullish on the market and wants the market to go up. So because of this strategy is why this opportunity is available to you on the show. So let me check the questions and then I can pass it back to Matt to see if he wants to cover a few more of those things inside that settings. No more questions right now. Please put them in the chat box and back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Brian. And yeah, that's some good information. And again, as you're thinking about this type of program, there are some considerations to make. So I'll continue. I was mentioning something called a substitute payment, and it's kind of fitting since we were just talking about dividends. And what a substitute payment is when those shares in your account, if you're enrolled in this program, are being loaned out, you're actually not holding the shares because someone else is borrowing them from you. And in that situation, you still do get paid the amount of a dividend. So if a company paid $10 in a dividend that you're owed, you're still going to receive that money. The difference being is that when I was talking through ordinary versus qualified dividends, because this is what's known as a substitute payment, I won't go through the whole explanation as to why they call it that, but what it does is actually change the tax implication and means that you are going to be taxed as ordinary income versus whatever your rate is. So there is going to be situations where you have to consider that when your shares are on loan that you're going to be taxed at a different kind of rate. I will say too, if you look at the page here, if you are considering this program, this is available. You can enroll through the live platform from the settings page again. And I would say, if you do have questions, are you eligible? Are there risks? I've touched on a few of those risks. There's other things like you're giving up voting rights to those securities when they're on loan. And something to be aware of is Ally does earn interest on this as well as you as the customer. So it's a program that's mutually beneficial in that sense. But there's a bunch of questions here that we have for FAQs. So happy to answer any of those if people have those. And again, you can see here on the left, you can choose, if you do decide that you want to sign up and this is appropriate for your account, you can go ahead and actually choose whatever accounts you want. I have, on this test account, I have 4 different accounts that could potentially qualify for this program to consent to enroll in these programs. So make sure you read through the lending disclosures, make sure you understand all the questions and the FAQs. But this is a really great program for a lot of people that's a good fit. And again, it's a different way to diversify and add another revenue stream to your account, taking into consideration the pros and cons that we've been talking about some. But this is where you go ahead and submit right from this page.
All right. Well, we do have one question here for the show, and we're coming to the end of our daily service show. So I guess we'll end with this last question. And I think this person might have came in late, but Kristen asks, I didn't see how to get to these settings. What do you click on overall? So fairly simple one to end on, Matt. We'll let you finish there.
Yeah, thanks. And it's actually, I think this is what we talked through at the very start of the show. It bears repeating though, because I do think it's not the most intuitive part within the navigation is, again, once you've logged into your account, go ahead and click on any of the brokerage accounts or on investments from the navigation menu. And that's going to take you into this dashboard screen that you see here. So once you've reached the dashboard page, again, you want to click on this gear right next to dashboard, and that's going to expand a few menu choices. And from here, you're going to choose all settings. And this will then allow you to get to the page where if you scroll all the way to the bottom here, you're going to see the different programs that we've been talking about throughout the show today. And this is where you can choose to enroll in any that are suitable for your account, that you feel are a good fit after looking them over. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us for more information about any of these programs and what they mean for your specific situation. And I would say, too, the last thing worth noting is these are available in the live platform. So you can enroll in the Securities Income Program through the mobile application right now. There's a banner once you're logged in that you can use. But the rest of this, you want to make sure that you're going through the web experience and coming into the live platform and navigating to the settings page as I just showed in order to enroll in them.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the Ally Invest Daily Service Show. Please make sure you click subscribe and ring the bell so you get all the notifications for our next show. And we'll see you this Monday for the next Ally Invest Daily Service Show. Thanks for coming, everyone.